Honourable members, I want to welcome you to this afternoon sitting.
On Tuesday, 13th May 2025, Parliament paid tribute to the late Pope Francis, celebrating his compassionate leadership and lifelong commitment to humility and justice.
Pope Francis was a man of God who lived a life of simplicity, humility, love, respect, and unity. He loved with compassion. He even gave Uganda an honor by canonization of Uganda matters in the Vatican. That was in last year.
Pope Francis was a pope of the people, a transformative figure, and who embodied a spirit of international solidarity, has left behind an extensive diplomatic network across the world. Uganda was blessed to be one of the 68 countries the late Pope Francis visited in the 12 years of his pontificate.
Pope Francis warned us of the consequences of exploiting nature and ignoring our duty as stewards of creation. Sadly, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, environmental degradation continues to displace communities, destroy livelihoods, and deepen poverty. Pope Francis's clarion call should, therefore, serve as a wake-up call to urgently rethink our development approach and harness the environment sustainably for the benefit of present and future generations.
The epitome of the Pope's humility is exhibited at that time, when he was asked by some journalist to talk about himself. He referred to him by his real name, George Bagogorio. I said, "Who is he?" And he said, "I'm a sinner." Now, a pope that is known to be most holy, to describe himself as a sinner, he lowered himself, the most common man, to tell people that I'm human just like you are.
Pope Francis will be remembered as a pope who was simple and yet profound in the way he thought about set doctrines of the church. I was particularly intrigued and followed his discourses about the Lord's Prayer.
The House also congratulated Pope Leo XIV upon his election as the Supreme Pontiff and Sovereign of the Vatican City.
We joined the global community and all the people of goodwill to congratulate Pope Leo XIV upon becoming the Pope of the Catholic Church, and pray for him to have an impactful legacy, just like what Pope Francis did.
Pope Leo XIV has always been promoting love, harmony, and humility, among other things. The new Holy Father has begun his purpose with a message of peace, which is a fundamental aspiration for the government of Uganda.
Recently, when Pope Leo XIV was addressing the cardinals, he said, "I continue and follow closely in the footsteps of late Pope Francis," and he called it a precious legacy.
During the sitting, the Minister for Defence and Veteran Affairs, Honourable Jacob Oboth, tabled the Uganda Peoples Defence Forces Amendment Bill 2025 before Parliament for its first reading.
I beg to move that the bill entitled the Uganda Peoples Defence Forces Amendment Bill 2025 be read for the first time. I want to attach a copy of the Certificate of Financial Implication.
The bill stands referred to Committee of Defense and Internal Affairs and the Committee of Legal and Parliamentary. The chairperson of Legal and Parliamentary Affairs is hereby designated to chair the joint committee. He will be deputized by the Committee of Defense and Internal Affairs.
The House also received the Copyright and Neighbouring Rights Amendment Bill 2025 that was tabled by the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Honourable Thur.15.May, for its first reading.
Madam Speaker and honourable members, I beg to move that the bill entitled the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Amendment Bill 2025 be read for the first time. I also beg to lay a copy of the bill and a certificate of financial implications. I beg to move, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Pursuant to Rule 129, Rule 1, Sub-Rule 1 of the Rules of Procedure, the bill stands referred to the Committee of Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, and Rule 129(2) applies.
On Wednesday, 14th May 2025, Parliament directed the Minister of State for Works and Transport, Honorable Musa Echweru, to present a comprehensive status report on the country's road infrastructure.
As of financial year 2024-2025, 1,880 kilometers of paved roads require periodic maintenance, while 615 kilometers have already deteriorated to the level of requiring full rehabilitation. This backlog is a result of consistent underfunding for maintenance activities over the years. Honorable members, the National Roads Development Program faces a severe funding deficit in the financial year 2025-2026. The current budgetary allocations are far below the resources required for the timely completion of critical road development, rehabilitation, and maintenance projects. The consequences of this deficit will affect government programs.
After going away of UNRWA, who is taking responsibility to supervise? Because we are seeing like there is nobody responsible for any supervision.
We are taking full responsibility of the supervision of the ministry.
At least UNRWA was managing the debt. Now, you are failing to even manage the debt. Where we come from, through Shema district, Mbara district to Buweju, the road is impassable.
UNRWA had, for example, a department, I think a unit for road safety. You have not activated it in the ministry. You are talking about money. We want to know the issue of continuity. When you took over UNRWA, for example, the Maram roads across the country, they have been abandoned.
The road from Kasanda up to Chiyuya has become so impassable. That road was being maintained by a framework contract. Now I want to ask you, to get a clarification from you. When you go to UNRWA, you stopped all framework contracts. Who is responsible for those roads that we previously called UNRWA roads?
Honorable Minister, we need a report, and the report should be here on Tuesday.
Right, Robert, I wanted to beg that you give me a week.
No.
Why?
Tuesday.
Because, like I said,
Tuesday.
During the sitting, the House passed a number of tax bills. These include, among others, the Income Tax Amendment Bill 2025, where MPs rejected the proposal to grant Bujagali Hydropower Project Company a 7-year tax waiver, but instead approved an amendment exempting the company from income tax for a year, as well as the Hides and Skins Export Duty Amendment Bill 2025 that introduces a levy of $0.8 per kilogram of all exported hides and skins, including glue stock.
When you look at our ad hoc committee report,
on Thursday, 15th May 2025, the House passed the Appropriation Bill 2025, which first went through debate of a report on the proposed annual budget for the financial year 2025-2026.
The proposed annual budget for financial year 2025-26 is consistent with the NDP4. In order to accelerate economic growth, government should continue to sustain investments in strategic initiatives and strengthen the operationalization of the parish development model, Emioga, industrial hubs. Fiscal prudence should remain a priority, with the policies aimed at containing the debt to GDP ratio below the 50% CFR target and in present value terms. And this should gradually reduce the fiscal deficit below 3% so that it is consistent with the regional and domestic fiscal policy frameworks. Government should continue the acceleration of domestic revenue mobilization by broadening the tax base, particularly in the digital economy, through stricter enforcement and compliance mechanisms.
We are opposed to the approval of the 72.376 trillion 2025-2026 annual budget unless it is restructured as we propose to address the socio-economic challenges our country is facing. Honorable Speaker and members, even if the allocations in the budget were to address the socio-economic challenges, financing the budget through reckless borrowing will cause the country even more pain.
The issue of giving money or bailing individuals like Rocco, Penetti, and the rest. Right, Honorable Speaker, we are having money, inadequate money for the PDM. Why can't we use this money to address some of these challenges?
I want to point out that this entire budget is a corruption-led budget. The Honorable Semujo has done good justice in pointing out the areas. When you examine the items proposed to this parliament for financing, and he listed them, donations, corporate social responsibilities, and etc., it's just money we are passing for people to enjoy. I would rather support that these monies are allocated, for example, in education sector.
And this goes with distribution of tractors. Whereas, as my colleagues had said, many times we come up with statements that we are going to do commercial agriculture, but when we look at our actions in terms of allocation to those areas, they do not match with our statements.
Whereas it is true that the domestic arrears stood at 13 trillion as per the Auditor General's report, we offset this. This included the obligation by which we offset, and the balance remained 5.2 trillion. When we remove the budget for this year of 1.4, we remain with 3.8, which we plan to settle in the next 3 years.
Thereafter, the Committee of the Whole House approved the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the new budget.
I now put a question that a total sum of Uganda shillings 72 trillion 376 billion 481 million 502,000 be provided for as a grant expenditure for financial year 2025-2026. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
I beg to move that the appropriation bill 2025 be read for the third time and do pass.
I put a question that the appropriation bill 2025 be read the third time and do pass. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act titled the Appropriation Act 2025.
Title settled and the bill passed.
The House also passed the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2025.
The object of this bill is to provide for supplementary appropriation out of the consolidated fund. The sum being appropriated is 4,855,660,021,785 shillings only to meet additional expenditure for the financial year 2023-2024.
I beg to move a motion that the Supplementary Appropriations Bill 2025 be read for the third time and do pass.
I put a question that the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2025 be read the third time and do pass. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act titled the Supplementary Appropriation Act 2025.
The title is settled and the bill is passed. Congratulations. I adjourn the House to Tuesday at 2.